You're listening to What She Grows Through, a podcast dedicated to empower and uplift Black women to grow their self-worth. I'm your host, Chanel Amir, one of many dope Black women, creating a community for us to pour into and align with one another, uncovering our true feelings from sexuality to self-love, to begin growing through life and evolving into our best authentic selves. Let's get started. What's up, beautiful, and welcome back to another episode of the What She Grows Through podcast. Before we even get into today's topic, I just want to stop here and pause and check in on you in this moment. Like, for real. Not the quick, I'm good, hanging in there, but the real, the kind where you actually get to pause and think about it. How are you feeling in your body lately? Not how you're performing or how you're showing up for everybody else, your kids, your family, your job, your responsibilities. But how do you feel when things get quiet? When nobody's calling your name and there's nothing to prove? When you finally sit down? If you're anything like me, you probably gotten really good at just keeping it moving, even when your nervous system is begging you to slow down. We were taught how to push through, how to adapt, survive, and how to carry it all without dropping anything. But nobody really pulled us aside and said, hey, the space that you live in matters too. The environment that you wake up in, work in, and rest in is literally shaping how your body feels every single day. And honestly, how could they? A lot of us were never really taught that either. So today, I want us to talk about that. Honestly, real, and just from one woman to another. I want to talk about why environment matters for emotional regulation, and not in no psychological, clinical, disconnected way, but in real life, in motherhood, survival seasons, and growth seasons, in the spaces that we've been learning to make do in, and the ones that we're learning to choose on purpose. My intention for this conversation is going to be about noticing and a lot of unlearning and giving ourselves permission to care about how our lives actually feel and not just how they look. So, wherever you're at right now, take a deep breath with me. Let shoulders drop if they can. And let's get into this together. For a long time, I didn't have the language for what I was feeling. I just knew something felt off. Looking back now, I can see it so clearly. It looked like my 2 kids and I living in a small 2-bedroom row house, minimal sunlight, narrow rooms, no real place for me to land. It was the kind of space where everything overlaps, where there was no real separation between resting, working, parenting, or even thinking. The kids, they were always moving around me, sometimes literally hanging onto my legs while I cooked, cleaned, edited videos, answered calls and emails, and just tried to exist all at the same time. Every inch of the space was being used. Even the quiet moments didn't feel restful because my body never fully relaxed. The walls felt closed in and heavy and like they were pressing in on me. And I told myself what a lot of us tell ourselves. I thought I was just tired or overwhelmed. Maybe I just needed to manage my emotions better. Be more organized. Be more patient. Maybe I should get back into therapy or just work on myself harder. But once I finally slowed down enough to really pay attention, I realized something deeper was happening. My surroundings were constantly putting my body on edge. Like, as a Black woman, especially in this version of America that we're living in right now, our nervous systems already stay alert. We're taught to be aware, to stay ready, to keep our heads on a swivel just to move through the world safely. So when you're home, or even where you show up in your daily environment also feels chaotic or unsafe and draining, your body never really gets a break. And I started noticing how my body responded the moment I walked into certain spaces. Sometimes it was my own home. I stayed in problem solving mode even when nothing was wrong, and even when I was supposed to be safe. Like, I felt like I was walking on eggshells inside my own life. No room to really exhale. No space to just be. And I want to be clear, I'm not sharing this as a personal failure. I'm sharing it as a reminder of how we're wired. Like, our emotions aren't flaws. They're information. They're signals. Like, they're our body's way of telling us something needs attention. We might not be dealing with fending off wild animals or fighting for shelter the way that our ancestors did, but our bodies are still responding to our environments every single day, whether we're conscious of it or not. And once I understood that, everything started to shift. Now, from a mental health perspective, emotional regulation is what's happening inside your mind, but more on what your body is responding to around you. Your nervous system is always listening before you are. It's scanning your surroundings for cues of safety or threat, even when you're not aware of it, like certain noises, the space feeling claustrophobic, even consistency. All of it sends messages to your body about whether it can soften or whether it needs to stay alert. When your environment feels unpredictable, crowded, too loud, or constantly demanding, your body stays in this heightened state. And that's when that irritability shows up and you feel overwhelmed for no reason. That's when relaxing and rest feels impossible, even when you finally get to sit down, like your mind is still going. A lot of us were raised to normalize that feeling, especially as Black women. We learn early how to adapt, push through, and just make do. We learn how to survive environments that weren't built with our softness in mind. So we told ourselves things like, I'll rest later. I'll breathe when things slow down. I'll feel better when this season passes. But the truth, seasons don't pass on their own when their environment stays the same. Now, I'm about to put you game on a few of my favorite books and the gems that I got from them. In Unlearn, Humble the Poet, he talks about how many of our patterns were once necessary for survival, but may no longer serve us in the lives that we're trying to build today. And that hit home for me because so many of us are still living inside environments that mirror survival, even when we're fighting like hell to grow into stability. And then I think about the Code of the Extraordinary Mind when my guy Vishen, he talks about environment not just as a physical space, but as an extension of your internal world, like the people around you, the energy you wake up to, the walls you live inside, the expectations placed on you. All of that shapes how you think, how you feel, and show up. So, if your environment constantly demands you to be strong and alert, your nervous system doesn't get the signal that it's okay to lay down, to rest. And then we start blaming ourselves. We call that burnout or anxiety. We call it being too sensitive, but a lot of the times it's just a body that hasn't felt safe enough to exhale. Deep, right? This is where unlearning comes in. Unlearning the belief that chaos is normal, and unlearning the guilt around choosing comfort. Unlearning the idea that peace has to be earned through exhaustion. When you start to ask yourself questions like, why does this space feel heavy? And why do I feel on edge here? Why do I feel calmer when I'm somewhere else? Those aren't just random swirling thoughts. They're your body asking for alignment. And I'm always talking about us Black women, especially, because this matters. It's deep. We live in a world that already puts pressure on our nervous systems through racism, economic stress, caretaking roles, and the expectation to hold it all together with no complaining, because how dare you? Being intentional about our environment, it shouldn't feel like a luxury that we should have. It's our protection. It's survival evolving into self-appreciation. Your surroundings either reinforce who you're becoming or keep pulling you back into who you had to be. Bars. When your environment supports calm, your emotions have space to move without overwhelming you. And when your environment supports safety, your body stops bracing for impact. When your environment reflects the life that you're trying to build internally, regulation stops being something that you force and starts becoming something that you feel. That's when the wisdom comes in. And that's growth that actually lasts. Now, I want to get a little deeper from this point of view, woman to woman. Our relationship with environment as Black Americans is layered. It's not just about, a preference or aesthetics. It's history and memory. It's survival passed down quietly through generations. For a long time, we didn't get to choose where we lived, how we lived, or what our spaces even looked like. We learned how to make do. We learned how to adapt, pivot, how to survive where we landed. And that survival skill is powerful. It kept us alive. And that in itself, it deserves respect. Like, put some respect on our name, like, please. But here's the part that we don't talk about out loud. Survival environments create survival behaviors. When you grow up learning how to stay alert and adjust quickly, share limited space, ignore discomfort, and push through noise and chaos, your body remembers that. Even when your life changes, even when your goals expand, even when you're trying to build something softer. So when you feel on edge for no real reason, when rest feels uncomfortable and peace no longer feels familiar, It's not because something is wrong with you, it's because your nervous system learned how to function in environments that didn't prioritize your ease. As Black women, we carry a lot. We gotta be mothers and daughters, partners, creatives, leaders, caretakers. We hold our families together. We hold communities together. For real, we hold ourselves together. So the spaces that we live in matter more than we've been taught to admit. So being real, you can't regulate in a space that's constantly demanding resilience. If we want to raise emotionally grounded children, if we want to show up as present partners, or create from a space of clarity instead of exhaustion, then we have to be intentional about the environments that we're asking our bodies to exist in every day. This is how we get into alignment. Alignment looks like asking yourself gentle but honest and real questions like, does this space allow my body to exhale? Or am I just always bracing here? Do I feel calmer when I leave or when I return? Can I hear myself think in this environment? Do I feel supported or just tolerated? Does this space reflect who I'm becoming or who I had to be to survive? And I want to be clear, this isn't me trying to tell you to become perfect or have this picture perfect home or a quiet, peaceful life all the time. This is just more on being intentional with the time that we have here. It's about recognizing that your environment is constantly in conversation with your nervous system. So when your space feels chaotic, your body stays alert. When your space feels unsafe, your emotions, they really have nowhere to land. So, as Black women, especially, choosing environments that support calm is an act of self-love and self-respect. It's a way of saying my peace matters. My body, my regulation matters. Like, my children deserve to see me at ease and not just capable. And we don't gotta romanticize struggle to appreciate our strength. And we damn sure don't have to stay in survival mode to prove that we're resilient. We're allowed to want spaces that feel like relief and to choose environments that hold us gently. We're allowed to build lives where our bodies feel safe enough to soften. That's not abandoning our roots, that's honoring them, appreciating them by growing differently. And I feel like that in itself is us continuing this beautiful legacy. All right, so for me, choosing a different environment was about giving myself permission to prioritize peace without explaining myself. Permission to stop surviving out loud. I started paying attention to how certain spaces made me feel and different dynamics, different energies. I noticed how some environments drained me before I even realized what was happening. How some people, especially men, who weren't grounded enough in themselves would come in and slowly steal all the light. Now, not aggressively, but just by needing too much, taking up space emotionally and leaving me dimmer than what I was before. I didn't always catch it right away. I just felt heavier, shorter with my kids, less inspired, less patient. I felt like I was losing myself. And then I step into a calmer space, a quiet room, this new home with way more natural light. A moment where nobody needed anything from me. And my body would respond before my mind did. My shoulders, relaxed. I felt like my thoughts didn't feel like they were racing each other anymore. And I feel like that's when I started noticing the shift. In calmer environments, my patience with my kids grew. I wasn't snapping at them as easily. And I could actually hear them instead of just managing them. I feel like Chanel Amer films started to flow again and not feel rushed or forced, but natural and joyful. Ideas came without me chasing them. And I could honestly sit with myself long enough to know that I was feeling instead of just pushing through it. I think right there is when it clicked for me. Emotional regulation isn't just internal, it's environmental work too. We can journal, meditate, go to therapy, do all the things, but if we're constantly placing ourselves in environments that drain us, overstimulate us, or require us to be on guard, our nervous systems never get the message that it's okay to rest. When we change our environment, whether that's our home, our routines, or the people that we allow close to us, we're telling our nervous systems, you're safe now. And that message changes everything. It changes how we mother, how we love. It changes how we create and show up for ourselves. Choosing a different environment wasn't me running away from anything. It was me choosing myself and choosing to live in spaces that support who I'm becoming, being her now, and not who I had to be to survive. And once I felt that difference in my body, it was on. There was no unseeing it. So beautiful. I've been saying a lot to you. I'm hoping that you getting what I'm putting down. I'm hoping we right here with it. I want to empower you without overwhelming you, because growth doesn't need to feel heavy to be real. Start small. Pay attention to where you feel most at ease right now. It might be in a room in your house, or a certain time of day, a certain simple routine, or even one specific person who lets you be all of yourself. That ease is information. Your body is already telling you something important. And once you notice it, ask yourself why. Is it the quiet? The predictability? The softness? The space to breathe without being needed? Those details matter more than we realize. You don't have to change your whole life overnight. You don't gotta have a perfect home or a bigger paycheck, even though that would be love, or a brand new routine to start regulating your nervous system. What you can do now is begin making small choices that support your emotional well-being instead of constantly working and fighting against it. Because when we're regulated, we show up differently. We become more patient with these kids. We can communicate with more clarity. And we create from a grounded place instead of survival. We become safer spaces for ourselves and for the people we love. So before you rush back into your day, I just want you to pause with me for a moment. Take a deep breath. Not a fixing breath, but just a noticing one. and ask yourself this and give yourself time to answer. Where do I feel most at ease right now? Not where you think you should feel calm or where you look put together, but where your body softens without effort. As you sit with that, let the next layer come forward. What does that space give you that other spaces don't? Is it quiet? Is it light? Is it permission to move slowly? Is it the absence of being needed? Now ask yourself something gently, but honestly. Where in my life am I still asking my nervous system to survive instead of settle? What have I normalized that actually keeps me on edge? No judgment, just information. And finally, bring it home with this question. What is one small shift that I can make that would tell my body, you're safe here? It doesn't have to be big or expensive, it just has to be real. Let your answers come in their own time and write what you feel. Notice what comes up, even if it surprises you. This is how we start changing our relationship with our environment. This is how regulation begins, by listening. So sis, you deserve an environment that supports who you're becoming, not who you had to be to survive. Being intentional about your surroundings is an act of courage and a form of self-respect. It's one of the most empowering and powerful ways to regulate your emotions and protect your peace, especially as Black women who've been taught to endure more than we should. We're not just doing this work for ourselves, we're doing it for our babies so they can learn what safety feels like in real time. So they grow up knowing that peace is normal and not something that you have to earn after burnout. This is what She Grows Through is all about. Learning, unlearning, and choosing differently together. So take what resonates, leave the rest. And if this episode spoke to you, I'd love for you to share it with another sister who might need this reminder. You can also send me your reflections, whether that's through a message, a comment, or a journal entry that you're willing to share. I plan to highlight your words and experiences as we continue growing through this journey together. I'm so grateful that you were here with me. I'm grateful that we get to have these conversations, and I look forward to talking with you again. Until then, take care of your nervous system. Appreciate your needs and remember that you're allowed to choose this ease. We'll talk again soon.